Hey, what's going on everybody? Alex with you here again as usual. Thank you for dropping by for yet another chess video. Now I wanted to start this video off by quickly revisiting the Square Off Pro roll-up chessboard that I have shared with you guys for, it's been over 5 months now, to kind of give you some final thoughts about my overall experience with the board. I think that they've worked out a considerable amount of glitches and kinks that people have shared and experienced. So now I think overall the experience with the board has become a lot more smooth. I also want to say that the battery in this board is really awesome. It holds the charge really well. And overall, the amount of battery life that you get is substantial. Definitely, it gives you enough battery life to play your games out and about, and you can definitely play quite a few games before the battery runs out. Overall, when I started playing this, I was kind of treating it a little bit more carefully as far as just trying to play like slower games, but I've quickly noticed that for the people out there that enjoy playing blitz games or bullet games, overall, even though I've mentioned before in my previous videos that there's a little bit of that lag between like the opponent making a move online and then you receiving the indication that the move's been made. But I've noticed that all those little details and little nuances have been streamlined, and like I said, now I've been able to play some quicker games on this. I don't necessarily try to play bullet games, but that's because I don't play bullet games, but you can definitely play quicker games on this. And overall, like I said, my experience with this board has been very, very positive overall. Now, I'm making this video and I've made my previous Square Off videos. I don't get a single dime from making these videos, so this is a purely neutral, objective review that I just kind of wanted to share with you guys. Overall, I'm very pleased with the board. The actual board and material seems to hold out really well. I'm not noticing any scratches, any dings. The board is pretty much today, after playing all these games, as good as pretty much the first day I bought it. Maybe some other people have had other experiences, so if you've played with the Square Off Pro board and you wanted to share your experience with it, please let me know. So I'd like to hear that in the comments below. Now I want to just kind of preface this video by saying I'm not a professional YouTuber. When it comes to being able to show you guys these chess pieces and everything, I kind of follow a certain format, and although it may seem a little redundant to some people, just because, comparing myself to other people that are able to make these grand YouTube videos, my videos are kind of on a lower scale. I don't have the skills to be able to show things in a very dazzling way, but I've got this idea that I've been thinking about as far as, and I've shared this idea with some of my friends that I wanted to share with you guys today, that I feel is important for me to share. Now, having said that, from time to time I'm still getting people that will ask me a very similar question, and a very reasonable question. And the question basically is, the Square Off Pro chessboard that basically has the ability to light up wherever the opponent moves. So then you make the opponent move, and then you make your own move, and it registers your move. And what really is the fundamental difference between having a Square Off chessboard and maybe having a regular chessboard like this? And we've seen this before. This is the Dubrovnik set on a nice wooden board, which is a much more authentic, traditional kind of a chess feel to it, with maybe, why don't we combine this with chess.com or maybe Lichess, and I can certainly take this entire board away, put this computer thing on this side here, if you have the space, and play the game against whoever you want to play on chess.com, Lichess, whatever. Make the moves here, replicate the moves on the board, and you'll pretty much get the same experience you would with the Square Off Pro. So that is a very reasonable question, because let's face it, I mean, it's not like the Square Off Pro really, manages to accomplish anything surreal or anything out of this world. I mean, it's still kind of the same experience, but it is and it's not. And that's sort of what I wanted to talk to you guys about in this particular video, and hopefully it won't take too much of your time, but I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind for quite a while, and that is basically the idea and the truth that although there's a lot of chess players out there in the world, in fact, millions of people play chess regularly, with the advent of technology and the internet, with the advent of technology and with an ever growing presence of internet access worldwide, it has become so much easier for people to enjoy the game of chess online, whether on your phone or on your computer, laptop, what have you, anytime, anywhere. You get to have the opportunity to play against people all over the world, not just a computer, but actual people. That this is also a blessing as well as, in my opinion, a limitation. Because here's the thing, the truth is, I would probably say that for every 20 people who play chess regularly, you may find only one person out of 20 that has ever attended a chess club in person or has ever played a tournament or games over the board with other people. Most of the time, chess players are born on this, and they continue their chess journey online. They never get the opportunity to experience what it's like going on a chess tournament, on a real chess tournament. And so I wanted to take a moment of your time today to basically share my thoughts about the similarities and the differences between playing the games online versus going to tournaments, and what to expect as far as similarities and differences between the two ways of playing chess. Okay, so basically, let me just start off by saying, when you're playing chess online, okay, whether Lead Chess, chess.com, or any of the other ways that you can play, most of the time, unless you set the settings for playing in 3D chess, which sometimes can be confusing, most of the time, most of the games are played from a view of a top-down, so you're looking at a chessboard in a very two-dimensional, flat way, with the pieces usually also very two-dimensional, laying kind of on the side. So you're playing a game of chess that is a very diagrammatic-like fashion, which takes away quite a lot of the experience of being able to play on a real board, but it sort of strips those little nuances away and gives you the most important part, which is actually just looking at the board and playing the game. So it seems. However, it also handicaps people, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I play a lot of chess games online, and sometimes when I'll have my friend come over, my friend Larry comes over every once in a while, and we'll play a game in the room here over the board, I do sometimes notice that depending on the type of chess pieces that I'm playing, or depending on the type of chessboard I'm using, sometimes without even realizing it, I start to sort of lose way of how I'm looking at the board, because it's not a two-dimensional board, it's a three-dimensional board. So if you're looking to maybe go play a tournament in real life, and you've always played online in a two-dimensional fashion, do realize that you might actually be distracted by the way that the regular board looks, just because you're not used to it. In fact, I would probably bet to say that your chess score probably will go down because of that. If you're not used to playing on a real board regularly, that is going to be something. You might say, well, chess is chess. No, chess is chess, but you have to realize that, if you spend your entire time looking at just the screen, due to the perceptual differences between a real game and the screen, it does play with your mind, okay? That's one thing, and that's very important. So that is why a square-off chessboard like this is a great way to prepare yourself for real tournaments, because you play on a board like this, you're playing on a real board with real pieces, and you're starting to get your mind accustomed to seeing chess in 3 dimensions, which is really important, okay? Secondly, in tournaments, okay, something different between playing online and playing in tournaments is, a lot of times when you go to play tournaments, at least here in the United States, I don't know how it is in your part of the world, or wherever you might be watching this from, but notation is a lot of times required. Okay. In fact, I used to go, and I'm not a big person on notation, just because I know how to take notation. I know how to take it right, and I can take it relatively easily. I can just notate as I go. But when you're playing games online, you hardly ever need to notate. There's no need to notate. Your games are a lot of times just recorded, and the notation is done for you on the computer. Once again, it sort of handicaps you. If you haven't notated before, I would encourage you to start notating your games. Once again, it's something that you can start to do regularly while playing on, like, Square Off Pro, for example. I can set my games for 20 minutes or whatever, and I can play my games and I can notate regularly. And once again, it will start to train your mind to do what people do in tournaments regularly. Because for now, like, because I don't notate that often, and because I play so many online games, when I do notate my games, I get distracted. I do, and it's not because notating is by nature distracting, which it kind of is, but um, if you don't do it often, you do get distracted. Okay. Now, when I notate my games in tournaments, I've been to a tournament not that long ago. The problem is when you're notating. Here, by the way, is a really great little book that I got with one of my plastic chess sets. I've shown you guys this before. This is called a 100 game scorebook. Really, really nice hardcover, kind of almost like a velvety finish. It feels really nice on the outside. And then basically the way that the book is structured is, hopefully you guys are able to see this, maybe not, I'm not sure, but you've got a place where you can write who was playing for the white, who was playing for the black, what kind of opening it was, what were the ratings of each one of the players. You can put the date, time, what was the time control, the event. You can also, here there's like a little chessboard here, and you can like draw out the position where maybe you thought, hey, this was an interesting point in the game. I would like to further analyze this later. You can jot down the position where it was, and also a little thing for where you can write down additional notes about the game. Maybe you want to learn from this. Maybe there's something that you want to further study. You get a total of 80 moves. 80 is pretty reasonable, because most of the games are like 50 to 60 maybe, and that's a full game. That's like chasing the king around the board type of game. But what on average, like 40 to 50 maybe is a solid game. Get yourself one of these. In tournaments, it's always good to have your own notation book. If you don't have one, a lot of times there will be notation sheets that will be provided for you. They might not be something that you're used to. I would highly encourage get yourself a notation book like this, so that way you know how it works, you know how it looks. If you have a square off board, fantastic. Start playing your games. Start notating your games. Really, really important. Even though the computer will still notate for you if you play on square off, I would encourage you to start notating your games. It'll become easier. For me, and for a lot of other people, if you don't notate your games regularly, what ends up happening is that basically when you're playing in a tournament, you're like, yeah, I know how to notate. You do get distracted. I do. I know a lot of people do get distracted, because here you are focused in on the game that you're playing against the opponent. You're focused in on the game, you're focused in on the time that you have left, and you're just zoned in completely. Then you have to go back here and you have to say, okay, well, wait a minute, let me distract myself a little bit, let me write down what moves. And sometimes my mistake with the way that I notate, you're supposed to notate the opponent's move first, then you analyze the situation, you decide what move you're going to do, you notate your move, then you make your move. The problem with me is sometimes when the game gets really heated and I notate the opponent's move, and then then I move my piece, and as soon as I start notating, the game might already be at such a tense point. The opponent immediately takes your pawn, you take the opponent's pawn, you take the opponent's bishop, he takes your bishop, blah blah blah. 6 moves later, and then you're like, okay, now I'm gonna notate all this. Now you're confused, because you're like, oh crap, like, wait a minute, how did it, oh, okay, it's not like you can tell the opponent, wait a minute, let me backtrack all this so I can notate it properly. So then you start making mistakes, So then this starts distracting you, and basically the gist of the story is start getting good experience with notating your games because it is important in real tournaments. Okay, having talked about that a little bit, I wanted to also kind of mention the overall experience of playing in real tournaments and going to real clubs versus how does that differ in playing on the online. Okay, one big thing is that playing online, a lot of times people don't care about their games as much. So even though you can have a great game going, a lot of times if I have a great game going online, if I take a piece or something and the opponent like misses something, sometimes the opponent will just leave the room. And you're sitting there and you're like, okay, well, this was a great game. I will win this game by points, but I mean, come on, we're on move 10, and basically the opponent just stands up and leaves, and that's it. And basically, it takes away the opportunity for you to actually finish the game properly. And then you're kind of like, okay, well, great, I got points, but I didn't experience the full game that I really wanted to, that I was coming in. If you care about the points only, that's fine. You get your points, you're happy or whatever. But sometimes it can kind of feel like empty. Okay, so another thing is online, unless you're actually talking to your opponents, you're chatting with them, which most of the cases, like, we don't chat with our opponents. It feels very impersonal. Yes, you're playing against somebody across the other side of the world, but it's like, okay, well, and sometimes people will actually, like, I don't know, get mad at you or something, so they'll text you some random crap. When you go to real tournaments, people are a lot more respectful. When you go to real tournaments, you make friends with people who have the same interest as you, which is chess. If you're introverted like me, like many other chess players, and you're afraid, hey, I'm gonna go to some unknown, uncertain place and meet a bunch of people that I've never met before, do be aware that these people have one thing in common, and that is chess. I mean, even if you're super introverted and you don't talk about anything, and you're absolutely horrible at small talk, it doesn't matter. You're going to a place where people have a common interest, and that's chess. And that's fantastic. And that is the greatest thing that I can mention about real tournaments. There's people out there. There's people with that you actually get to play, and you actually get to see their faces, and you see their emotions, and it's overall it's a great experience. I mean, arguably some people could say to me, well, chess is chess, and I could say, well, you know, going online and listening to music is still the same type of music maybe that you would go to listen in a live concert, but it's a different atmosphere and an overall different experience by far. I mean, even though it might be the same song, it's just different, okay? And in my experience, having played tournaments, well, first and foremost, for me, going to a tournament would always be a little bit of a stress-provoking experience, at least in the beginning. I go, my heart races a little bit higher, even though I go to these tournaments weekly. I know what to expect. I'm going in, and I'm like, my heart races a little bit. You set up your board, you pay your dues, go over there, they've posted, okay, you're playing against so-and-so, and you're just like, okay, this is it. This is it. So you sit down, you shake hands, good game. However, the first move you make, it's sort of like, and your brain just sort of focuses in on the game. You have a great time. And overall, like I said, I've never in my life had a terrible time at a chess tournament. Even if I lose all the games, it's overall the experience of it was always just so much more enriching than you can ever get online. And basically, that is what I encourage a lot of people to do, and find out if they're in your town, in your state, or wherever you in your region, there's people that might be throwing together a chess tournament, or there's some kind of a chess club. I would encourage everybody to try to attend and experience that, even if you've never done that before, because it's just so much different. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to mention before I let you guys go is time. Okay, so I have a lot of friends that enjoy playing chess. Some of them enjoy playing chess at like a correspondence level, like a daily thing where each of the opponent gets like a day or maybe like 14 days to make a single move. I mean, that game can carry on for like a year. That is not how tournaments usually are. Tournaments are timed. So if you are used to playing correspondence chess to where you have absolutely no pressure to immediately make a move, start playing games, whether it's on Square Off, whether it's online, start getting kind of more adjusted to playing with timed games, okay? Usually tournaments can last somewhere, depending on what type of tournaments you play, but the type of tournaments I participated in would be anywhere from like 25 minutes per person to like as much as an hour per person, with sometimes with increments. So incremental means like every time you make a move, you get like 5 seconds added or 15 seconds added to your clock, which is really, really crucial, especially if you're running out of time and you're at the end of the game. You can make a move with your king several times back and forth, and all of a sudden you got an extra minute. But do be aware that tournaments a lot of times are timed, so start getting used to that. Once again, if you're playing on a square off board, you're not really readily able to see how much time you have left, but obviously you're going to have your phone or something that is connected to the board next to you, so you can always reference, hey, I've got 5 minutes left of this game. So, but it is really important. If you're just used to playing games with your friends, just invite them over every once in a while. You guys never use a clock. Start using the clock if you can, even if that means you're giving the opponent like a whole hour. Start using your clock, because it'll kind of make you become more aware of the fact that time does pass when you're playing chess games, and so that way you have that little bit of an extra awareness, and then it's not going to be a distraction when you actually come in and play games. I play my games like 10 minutes per person, which to me, I feel like it works for me right now. But it's not enough time to play any like really good games. It's not enough time to really analyze. When you're playing in tournaments, or when I was playing in tournaments, I would take a lot more time to analyze each one of my positions before I make a move. Online, you're kind of like, let's go, let's just go. I don't care, because you don't care about the game online as much as you do in a real tournament. So those 30 minutes that you get in a real tournament might seem like a lot, 30 minutes per person, but it really isn't. For some reason, time will just fly like this, and by the time you think you're about halfway through the game, your time is already ending. So, like I said, be aware that there is time limitations. Well, and that's pretty much it for today's discussion. I didn't want to drag this out too long, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed me sharing these ideas with you. And if you have not yet had the time or the opportunity to participate in real tournaments, then I would highly encourage everybody to find a club or find some kind of a event in your region, in your town, that holds chess tournaments, and give it a try. Go and see, if maybe you could play a couple of games in real life, and let me know in the comments below what your experiences are, because I'd be happy to read those, and I'm always happy to read what you guys have to say. Well, anyways, with that, I want to wish everybody a great weekend. Everybody stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Bye-bye.